Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for coming tonight. This is the Blue Thunder Marching Band from Boise State, if you didn't know that. So we're excited to provide a little spirit, energy, and music here tonight as we get ready for the game tomorrow. So we're going to go ahead and start with a little bit of our pregame. If you come to pregame, make sure you get in there at least 30 minutes before. You hear the opening of pregame. This is our Bronco fanfare and rally song. train-themed medley. This one, unfortunately, ending up being a tribute to Ozzy Osbourne, who recently passed away. I'm sure many of you heard about that. So we're going to continue with Crazy Train and Train, another medley here. Our drum major, first-year drum major, Eddie Redser. That one we also featured Claire Warner, our feature twirler over here, so thank you, Claire. Going to continue with the third medley in our show for tomorrow. This one takes us back to the 60s and 70s with a couple of great tunes you may want to sing along. This is Take the Last Train to Clarksville and Love Train. And our closer tomorrow, we take a little different direction with the train terminology, but Recently, you may have been familiar with the recent movie that came out, one of the, I think it's the fourth one in the series of How to Train Your Dragon. So we'll take a little play on words here and we close with our version of How to Train Your Dragon. But again, hopefully we'll get to see you tomorrow at the game, 7 o'clock kickoff. So pre-game, the band will start about 6:45, so get there, find your seats. Prior to that, 70 minutes before kickoff, that's 70 minutes, we'll do what we call our tailgate parade through the parking lot. Hope to see you there. So we're going to play a couple of those tunes. We'll start with what we're calling a water medley, which you'll hear that later on, the halftime performance later on in the season. And then a good old standard 25 or 6 to 4. Performers in the band this year. So we're excited about that. These students are majoring in pretty much every degree track that there is at the university. We have students that are studying music, but we have students in the engineering program, in the accounting programs, in the nursing program, and everything under the sun that the university offers. So these students are incredibly busy. So we're thankful for the work that they've put in. We had a 2-week camp before school started. And then obviously we're in the second week of school here getting ready for the game tomorrow. So a lot of hard work by these students. We're excited about that, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at the game again. 7 o'clock kickoff. The band will start at 5:50 in the tailgate parade. Hope to see you there. Also, you may see the sign over here if you're interested in contributing to our postseason travel fund. We'd love to have some support for that. So if you're inclined, we'd appreciate that. And we will go ahead and close with a song that I think everybody here knows. Go ahead and sing along with us with the fight song.